Welcome back. You're watching Earnings Edge right here at NDTV Profit. We're tracking Ask Automotive right now on the back of the strong quarter four performance. Company reported 23% revenue growth with EBITDA increasing by roughly 71% and profits increasing upwards of 100%. We're now joined by Mr. Kuldip Singh Rathee, Chairman and Managing Director of Ask Automotive. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to NDTV Profit, and thanks so much for joining in. I want to start with the quarter four earnings and the various divisions that the company is present in. Wanted to get a sense of the top two revenue contributor for the business, which is the aluminum lighting divisions as well as the ABS systems. How the revenue has slightly changed. Can you give us some contribution of how it will be going forward?
And we have done pretty well as far as the whole year is concerned, and as well as quarter on quarter is concerned. And as far as the two verticals that you have asked for, the first vertical of the brakes, where we are the market leaders for the last more than 20 years, enjoying 50% market share of the whole country, where that, since we have that dominant position with each and every OEM and in this sector, so this segment will grow as per the growth of the industry, according to the growth of the industry. But our new segment of the aluminum precision solutions, that is going to grow at a much faster pace, and like this year also it has grown at 28%, simply because there is huge potential because of the lightweighting, because of thermal management, and new opportunities coming in the EV segment, because in EV this segment is going to grow by 30 to 50% more, because of the lightweighting. Plus, we are seeing huge opportunities on the exports front also, where we have outperformed last year.
So for aluminium precision business, I wanted to know what kind of customers do you cater to, and what's the top revenue contributor? It's become the top revenue contributor now. So what kind of customers do you cater to here?
We are one of the fortunate companies which is supplying to each and every two-wheeler OEM in the country. And not only that, when the EV players came, we are supplying to more than 80% of the organized EV segment. So there is a huge growth there also. Plus, as I said just now, even in exports, we have taken very important breakthroughs in the automotive as well as the non-automotive segments.
Well, the company in its presentation has also highlighted that the EV revenue has gone up from just 11 crores a couple of years ago to 120 crores now. How are you seeing this segment in the next fiscal? Because you serve some of the largest OEMs in two-wheeler space, as you mentioned. For EV specifically, do you see revenues mainly from these, or is this going to change going forward now?
This is broadly in the EV segment from the two-wheeler segment only. And we'll grow now as per the growth of the industry, plus more and more products we are taking the breakthrough in the lightweighting division.
If you could give us a qualitative guidance for the EV segment specifically, because out of the total revenues of roughly 3,000, as you mentioned, is roughly 120 crores now. Now we guess that this is going to be a much stronger than the traditional business. How are you seeing the contribution going forward?
I'm afraid that we are not in a position to give guidance on the EV segment, because we'll grow as per the growth of the industry. And the growth of the industry is dependent on so many factors, like the FAME 2 subsidy was a little bit reduced, and now the new EV policy is coming. So as soon as this new EV policy, uniform policy, which was in the news one day before, so when that comes, I think many things will depend on that. But we see that EV segment will grow at a much better space, because the contribution of the EV space is still very, very low. It's just hardly 4% of the total.
Now, for the aluminum content that goes in the EV scooter, which is the higher by roughly like 30 to 50%, firstly, is that correct? And of course, the revenue will also rise with the increased components. But what are the margins for the segment in this? Because the company doesn't provide a diversification of the margins. What kind of margins are you seeing with the higher content per vehicle?
See, the margins will remain the same, but the EV content, as you asked for, is that the EV segment, because of the lightweighting requirements, because they want to reduce the lithium consumption, and that is done only with the lightweighting of the vehicle. So for lightweighting, aluminum is the best material, and so there is in general 30 to 50% extra consumption of aluminum in the EV segment. So that is where we'll gain because we have already, as I said, we are already supplying to 80% of the segment.
And margins will be in the similar range to the ICE vehicles?
Once the volumes go up, the margins become almost similar. It's a competitive industry. But the good part is when we are utilizing our existing capacities more and more, like we set up a new plant in Karoli, as you must have seen, with 380 crore investment, and now it is fully productionized. So once we utilize this, like in Q1 itself, will become a EBITDA positive, and in H1 will become PAT positive in that plant, new plant. So in our line, as the economies of scale come, the margins overall improve.
As you rightly said, the company is also setting up a new plant in Karnataka, which is roughly a 200 crore capex. Where do you see the commissioning of this particular plant, and what segment is this going to cater to going forward?
No, this new plant will be setting up in Bangalore in South. This will be our third plant in the South, and this is on the extreme demand coming from the customers from the South. This plant, on an investment of 200 crores, will be operational in Q4, and this is broadly, it will cater not only some normal friction material, the brakes part, otherwise the aluminum and the cable division it will represent.
I also want to talk about the new segments and the divisions of the company. You have gotten PV orders from the likes of M&M as well as Maruti. You also have another JV for the passenger car products. If you could highlight what's the PV story of the company, how do you see this segment going forward?
As I said, that with this very, very strong presence and growth in the two-wheeler segment, now we have started looking at the passenger car segment where we took two breakthroughs. One was from the Maruti powertrain, business. That was the casting business that we got the breakthrough. And similarly, in the casting business, we got a breakthrough from the Mahindra three-wheelers also. So in addition to this, in the passenger car segment, we have taken orders from Aptiv, which will further supply the heat sinks to Stellantis and the Ford Motors. So I think we are taking breakthroughs, and slowly, because we have very little presence in that. So this presence will keep on increasing in the times to come.
Now, would this business also have like a similar growth compared to the traditional businesses, like the EV business? Will it be a faster and higher segment growth?
See, the growth may look higher because the percentages are too small. I think, export also we were 3.6% last year, and this time we are doing 4.9%. So that way it looks higher, 54%, but the overall, in the revenue, the composition is less.
Now, another division which is upwards of roughly 10% of revenue contribution is in the wheels segment, and you also have another partnership in alloy wheels, which you recently announced. Now, the company is present in multiple businesses and not just limited to components. What's the ideology going forward into alloy wheels? Because it's a very competitive space. And the revenue and margins also likely to be under pressure. So how are you seeing in this space, and what kind of contribution and revenue are you seeing from this?
So see, the thinking of the company is very clear. Whatever line we start or we venture into, we go with the right technological backup, and which has to be world class. So what's happening is this two-wheeler alloy wheels, especially for scooters, this is getting made in the country with gravity die casting traditionally. But we have tied up with a company in Taiwan, which is supplying to the best Gogoro there, which is Oi to Gogoro, and which is making these scooter alloy wheels with high pressure die casting. This further gives some light weighting to the alloy wheel and provides advantage in the light weighting, especially for the EV vehicles it will provide for the scooters. And I think if this technology, we are going to provide the alloy wheels with the high pressure die casting technology. And this will also give us the first mover advantage in the country.
Well, my last question to you, sir, you have the new plant of Bangalore, which you spoke about. Apart from this, any other capex and plan for the next couple of years?
This kind of capex of 200 to 300 crores will come every year because our asset turnover ratio is 1:2, and because we are growing pretty well, and whatever is the growth numbers here onwards, I think that kind of capex will be required. But the good part is we are generating a lot of cash, and our debt levels are very much controlled. As you see, debt to equity is also pretty low, and debt to EBITDA is also 1.06, hardly 1 year EBITDA numbers.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for joining us today at NDTV Profit and speaking to us so candidly. We wish you the best for the next financial year and look forward to our next conversation. But thank you for joining us today. Well, that's all the time that we have on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned to NDTV Profit.